So we're going to kick off our very first of the last sessions, the last keynote sessions today, is going to be about digital identities. Now, we've spoken a lot about digital identities already, and our next speaker is from Gemalto. And Gemalto believe that a digital identity that is fully in your customer's control can be the cornerstone of digital transformation. So this should be quite a good session to hear. And the person who's going to be delivering it, their shoes that most closely represent them, you see I'm carrying on with my shoe theme here, are a pair of leather sneakers that they are at home and comfortable in, at work, or working out, which says to me that this is a man who's ready for anything at any time. Please welcome the VP in charge of business development for banking and payments at Gemalto. Let's welcome Emmanuel to the stage.
Thank you, Andrew. Digital identity for banks. Identity is the new money, is used to say David Birch, a consultant in the identity arena, and a very good friend of yours, if I understood well, Andrew. In this keynote, we will see how banks can leverage these ID assets. We shall see how banks can stretch their compliance assets beyond the sole scope of banking. But before we dive into it, let's have a look at who is Gemalto. Video, please.
The world is going through a digital transformation, touching every aspect of our lives. How we discover the world, how we work, how we look after ourselves, how we get around. Every time we use online services and connected devices, we create and exchange billions of pieces of data. This data makes us. It forms our online life. By linking it with our digital identity, we can prove that it's ours, access it, and decide to share it or keep it private. But imagine what would happen if we couldn't identify ourselves or if our personal data wasn't secure. The vast amounts of data generated by the Internet of Things would no longer be reliable. When you cross the border, your digital identity would not be recognized. Your company's network would be open to everyone, and people could access your personal data without your permission, turning the opportunities of the digital transformation to dust. One company is behind the scenes, keeping your data safe in the sharing economy. That company is Gemalto. We're the only ones to tackle the two main causes of cyber attacks: identity theft and data breaches. We do this by providing next-generation digital security built from two technologies: secure digital identification and data encryption. We already operate it for many well-known businesses and governments in any cloud and hybrid environment, protecting trillions of data exchanges without you even realizing. As an independent security expert, we guarantee digital privacy and compliance with data protection regulations. We put you back in control of your data and don't make money from it. Combining digital identity and data protection for next-generation digital security. Gemalto.
Looks like a good company to work with. Okay. So, last week, my wife decided to pay for the cantina for the kids. So she went online. She went into the cantina website, the school website, and then she had to fill the form to create a profile. First name, last name, home address, all these kind of details. Then, as the fridge was empty, she decided to go online shopping. So she took her Leclerc Drive app and started the exact same process again and again. First name, last name, home address. Then she decided to report our gas consumption to EDF, our utility provider. She went online and again created the very same kind of profile. As I was lying on the sofa, I thought to myself, no, I didn't think I should help her with the domestic tasks. I thought to myself, that's very inconvenient. But that's the way digital identity is managed today, in silos. Service providers are creating profiles, and the ID attributes from those profiles are not shared from one service provider to another. The user experience is different from one service provider to another. For the end user, this is really a bad situation. Federated identity is solving this problem. More and more service providers are creating consortiums. Those consortiums allow a user experience similar from one service provider to another service providers. The identity attributes can be shared between one service provider and another service provider. The self-sovereign identity model is having the same benefits for the end user. The revolution comes from the fact that there is no central entity in the middle owning the data. In this model, the data are owned by the users, and is the only one that can decide whether he wants to share it with one service provider or another service provider. He's the only one that will allow one service provider or another service provider to upgrade his profile with a new identity attribute. So we've seen that consortiums were key to achieve convenience in your digital journey. In Sweden, the Swedish banks, Swedbank, Nordea, Handelsbanken, they created Bank ID. This scheme is used by more than 73% of the Swedes. It's a huge penetration rate. With this scheme, Swedes can access governmental services as well as private services. Banking is only one of the private services. In Switzerland, UBS, Credit Suisse, Raiffeisen are creating Swiss ID. In Germany, the Sparkassen banks are creating Yes. In Belgium, the four main banks, BNP Fortis, Belfius, KBC, ING, have created Belgium Mobile ID. A little more than a year ago, Belgium Mobile ID launched ItsMe. ItsMe is an app. You download it from the App Store or whatever other stores. And the way it works is, as you go online and encounter the ItsMe button, by using the ItsMe button, clicking on the ItsMe button, a notification is appearing on your phone, on your smartphone. By opening the notification, you are invited to push your finger, for instance, and this will create a transaction certificate. This transaction certificate will go in the back end to be checked. If the result is positive, the user is granted the access on the service provider website. So the user journey is extremely smooth. Just click, open your app, put your fingers, you're in. It's similar it started with the banks, but it's now expanding to other service providers. So we are very proud at Gemalto about ItsMe because it's the Gemalto technology behind, and we believe it's a very good example of a fantastic user journey combined with the latest security capabilities. A year ago, ItsMe was used for banking purposes. So user could perform sensitive transactions using ItsMe in their banks. Then, I would say summer this year, Belgium citizens could use ItsMe to fill up their taxes. They could use ItsMe to check their pension states. ItsMe has been expanding beyond the sole banking scope. Insurances are now using ItsMe. Thanks to the eIDAS certification, ItsMe can also be used outside of the sole Belgium territory. So we've seen the importance of consortiums for a smooth user journey in the digital identity landscape. We've seen the importance of the smartphone, of the mobile, to achieve a good user experience. So let's try to combine those two in the self-sovereign identity model. This is the most complex slide of my presentation. If you go through it, you will know the topic better than I do. So, on the left of the slide, in these kind of consortiums, on the left of the slide, you have certifiers. Certifiers are the one in charge of checking the ID attributes. When they validate one ID attributes, they will post it in the Corda ledger from R3. They will post the attestation, not the value itself, not the ID attribute itself, the attestation. Verifiers, on the right side of the slide, will fetch the attestation from the ledger to ensure an ID attribute is trusted. The ID wallet belongs to the user. He will accept verifiers to get access to one ID attributes. ID wallet belonging to the user will accept certifiers to complement the profile with new ID attributes. The ID wallet itself can behave as a certifier. At the enrollment, at the very beginning of the journey, the user will, for example, get his phone number certified. So by entering his phone number, he receives an SMS OTP. Entering back the SMS OTP, that will certify the phone number. We can go more steps ahead and validate more ID attributes. By scanning an ID document, can be a passport, an ID card, any kind of ID document with security features. The user will have the scan behind the scene being compared to templates to ensure that the security features of the document are genuine. If this is validated, the user is then asked to perform a video flow. During the video flow, the user will have to perform a gesture with his face. This is the proof of liveliness. The image of the face will then be compared to the photo on the ID document. If it matches, the ID attributes from the ID document are digitized. As you can see on the last screenshot, the ID wallet is now featuring a lot of ID attributes. First name, last name, date of birth. If the user goes to a retail bank, by clicking on the ID wallet, he will be requested by notification to share the ID attributes he needs. When he does so, he will be granted the access to the retail bank. For other service providers, you might not want to share all your details. Let's take the example of a gambling site. Gambling site needs to know that you're over 18. They don't exactly need to know your exact date of birth. If you click on the ID wallet, then you will be asked to mention whether you're over 18. Behind the scene, the Bet2Win site will fetch the attestation from the ledger that you're over 18. If successful, the access will be granted. The gambling side doesn't need to know your exact date of birth, but it will be confirmed that you're over 18. That's what we call the zero knowledge proof. Okay, so we've seen the importance of consortiums. We've seen the importance of a mobile journey. We've seen a nice model of self-sovereign identity. Why banks are ideally positioned now to catch this opportunity? When banks are investing in digitals, they are following three main drivers. User experience. Too often, from one channel to another of the banks, we need to use different means of authentication, biometrics, static password, you name it. Cybersecurity. More than 20,000 malwares are already targeting banking apps. This number keeps growing. Regulations. We've been talking about it throughout the event. GDPR came into force this year. PSD2, upcoming next year. The ID wallet is entirely mobile-based. It will be the same user experience from whatever service providers. Security-wise, it has been developed with the security by design concept. The Gemalto SDKs is audited by external labs. It is being upgraded as malwares are getting more and more knowledge. Finally, compliance-wise, strong customer authentication, the two-factor authentication, becomes a piece of cake. The mobile phone is the possession factor, and your fingerprint is the inheritance factor. By combining those, we are complying to the RTS from the PSD2 regulation. Well, we like this scheme that is a little bit showing you the user journey in an identity journey. From the authentication to the enrollment, looping back and forth. That's the way we like to see the digital ID journey. If you're a consortium willing to launch an ID wallet, if you're a bank willing to get the most of your ID assets, of your compliant assets, or if you're simply willing to have a cup of coffee and discuss digital identity, please come, let's join together. I share with you some key ID attributes, so I hope you will take good care of it. They are trusted. Thank you.